Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So for this video right here, I want to address the question of whether or not the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade is relevant to Black people in general and Black women in particular. You hear a lot of people on social media suggesting that somehow this is just a white woman's issue, that it has nothing to do with Black women. And in fact, some people have suggested that this may be a good thing for Black women. They point out all these stories about how the founder of Planned Parenthood was out to destroy Black life and all that kind of stuff, and plotted with the KKK and worked with the KKK and all this other foolishness. So I want to just share my thoughts about this. First of all, this is relevant to Black women as it is relevant to all women, period. Many women find themselves in situations where they have unplanned and unwanted pregnancies, and they want to exercise their right to choose. And because of this decision, many women won't be able to exercise that option. There are at least 10 states that have decided to act on the Supreme Court's decision by banning abortions in those states. Many of those states are in the South. Most of those states are conservative, Republican states. And by banning abortion, they're not going to prevent abortions from taking place. They're just going to make it more difficult for women to have safe and legal abortions. That's all they're going to do. All they're doing is placing women's lives in jeopardy. And a disproportionate percentage of those women are African American, especially in light of when you look at the disproportionate poverty in Black communities. Poor Black women are going to be one of the most impacted by these decisions because they don't have the resources to go out of state to a state where abortions are legal. They don't have those same type of resources. They don't have the same type of resources to hire some underground doctor to perform an abortion for them in these states where abortions will be outlawed. And because of that, their lives and their health are going to be placed in greater jeopardy than other groups of women. So yes, this absolutely is an issue that is relevant to Black women. The other thing is this. We have to look at this issue as being bigger than just about abortion. This is about civil rights, and it's about the issue of stare decisis and legal precedent. Because with this decision, that places all kinds of legal precedents in jeopardy. It places the whole concept of stare decisis in jeopardy. So who's to say what other very important civil rights will face this same kind of situation where you have a reversal of rights, where you have rights chipped away and taken away? We've seen what this U.S. Supreme Court has done when it comes to the issue of voting rights. They gutted the Voting Rights Act. And we know that many other basic human and civil rights are on the chopping block with this right-wing conservative Supreme Court. Justice Thomas, in his concurrence, he raises the prospect of taking and striking down all kinds of rights. He questions, the concept of substantive due process rights. And by questioning that legal precedent dealing with substantive due process rights, basic rights like your right to privacy and your own sexual decisions are in jeopardy. Your right to contraception is in jeopardy. The issue of same-sex marriage is an issue that's in jeopardy. And people may look at these as isolated things that may not have anything to do with them, but this is just like the bridge to the destruction of other civil and human rights. It is possible that we may see a Supreme Court reverse basic rights like the, affirmative action. that's something else that is potentially going to be taken away. So this matters. This decision matters whether you're a woman or not, because it is laying the groundwork for the reversal of all kinds of Supreme Court decisions, even though the court speculated that this only applies to this particular issue of abortion. The fact of the matter is, if the court goes in the direction that Clarence Thomas wants the court to go in, we can see the erosion of all kinds of civil rights. So don't just look at this as some issue dealing with women and their right to choose. This is bigger than that. It has the potential to impact all kinds of civil rights that we take for granted. Here you had a legal precedent that had been in place for over 50 years. And within a blink of an eye, that precedent is erased. And now states can do what they choose. And that brings me to another point. And that's the relevance and the importance of exercising our right to vote. Every election cycle, you have these fake pro-black buffoons get on social media and they tell you that your vote doesn't count, your vote doesn't matter, and they basically downplay the significance of these elections. And with decisions like this, we are seeing the very real consequences of not voting. We're seeing the very real consequences of these elections, because it was elected presidents that appointed these Supreme Court justices. It's elected presidents that appoint the justices on the lower federal courts, whether we're talking about the circuit courts and the district courts. So these elections matter, because when you are able to shape the court by appointing justices, you are shaping the direction of this country in and of itself. You are shaping the direction of civil rights. We can see this country go backwards in so many areas involving civil rights. We see that this country, when it comes to criminal justice, the Supreme Court is, turned the clock backwards. Turned the clock backwards on criminal defendants where there's evidence and, new evidence of an attorney not providing effective assistance of counsel, thereby, resulting in that particular criminal defendant being found guilty when they shouldn't have, or not having the access to the kind of representation that they should have. In those situations, the Supreme Court said, we're not considering any new evidence. And that's just one of many examples of this court turning back the clock of time and reversing all kinds of civil rights. Basic things that people take for granted, like birth control, the right to have, sexual relations in the privacy of their home without the government being in their bedrooms. Those basic things that we take for granted can all be at jeopardy if the court goes in the direction that Clarence Thomas wants the court to go into. So we have to realize the importance of these elections. And we need to be fighting on the local level to ensure that our rights are protected, our right to vote, our right, women's rights to choose, and all these other rights that we take for granted. We need to defend those rights. And one of the best ways that you can defend those rights is by exercising your right to vote. Vote out people that are trying to put in place these laws to get rid of certain basic human and civil rights. The decision of what a woman does with her body should be up to that woman to decide. It is not the role of the state to act as some kind of moral authority, or, to exercise certain rights like it's some kind of theocracy or something like that. It is up to the people to make their own individual choices and be judged based on those choices. But it is not the role of the state to make all these moral decisions for individuals. It is not the role of the state to act as the moral police. It is up to the individual to make their own moral choices. Because if we continue down this path, we can look up and be in a country like the country that's told in stories like The Maiden's Tale, or profound, uh, profound works of fiction like the novel 1984. We can end up in that type of country if we allow things to continue the way they are, where our rights are being eroded. And it starts with voting rights. They are chipping away at our voting rights. And if we are not able to elect the candidates of our choice, then we will see more of this. We will see this country slowly devolve from at least a democracy in form to an actual dictatorship. So those are my thoughts about this. Tell me what you all think. Please rate, comment, subscribe. And before I go, there's one thing that I have to mention. I was watching this video that has gone viral where you have a white woman on stage with Donald Trump. And she talks about how this decision was real important because it protects white life. And we got to understand that that's part of what's underlying a lot of this pro-life movement. You have these right-wing racist, outright white supremacists that fear, replacement of themselves by black people and other minorities. They fear so-called white genocide. They see the declining numbers of white people in this country, and they're trying to do everything in their power to cling on to their numbers, to maintain a system of white supremacy. And they think that by depriving people of their right to choose, white women in particular, by depriving them of their right to choose, that somehow that will bring up the population of white people in this country. And that's part of the motive behind that. So that's something that a lot of these black conservatives need to keep in mind when you find yourself rallying behind issues without understanding the motive behind the promotion of certain issues and policies. So with that, peace and blessings. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and tell me your thoughts about this particular issue. Do you think this recent Supreme Court decision is relevant? Why? Relevant to black people? Why or why not? Peace.